Hey guys, welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel where we cover all things crypto from the perspective of a miner. So today's video going to be talking about ASICs. Going to be talking about what I'm personally looking at buying, why I'm looking at buying them, which ones specifically. So going to get into that. Just want to really start off this video by saying none of this is financial advice. I'm not shilling any of these projects, not shilling any of these manufacturers. I'm just putting out there my research, what I'm looking at, what I am actually buying, and giving you guys that information. So it's something for you to consider, right? If you're really thinking about jumping in, these are things you definitely want to consider. Don't only take one person's point of view, right? Do your research. Look at other videos, look at reviews, look at the manufacturers, do your research. But this is one point of view you can definitely consider. These are things I'm definitely putting into account. Um, so number one, first and foremost, is profitability. Okay, you want this thing to be profitable. You want this thing to be around. You want to get the latest model of whatever you're looking at. Okay, because the big thing here is that you need this thing to last. Okay, so you want to look at what's most profitable. So looking on this DX Pool website on their calculator, I'm using theirs instead of ASIC miner value because they've been having a lot of issues. I don't know what's been up with them, but a lot of the profit numbers have been way off. I don't know what's going on, but gonna use DXPool's calculator, which I like manually did some of the calculations and they seem pretty accurate, so I'm gonna go with theirs. So you can see here the top is all bitmain currently. Number one being the KA3, number two being the K7, and the L7. And oddly enough, those are the main ones I'm looking at. So again, you want to look at profitability. And keep in mind that yes, that miner is only going to be able to mine that coin. Okay? That doesn't mean you are stuck with that coin. This is a big thing that people like. This is a huge misconception that like, oh, I don't want to get a Kadena miner because I have no interest in Kadena. I don't want to hold it. Okay, well, sell the profit and buy Bitcoin or buy whatever project you're into. You're not stuck with just that coin. You want to look at what's most profitable because you can essentially mine any coin because you just get your profits out and then buy that coin. Okay, so keep that in mind that that is something you can do. Main reason a lot of people don't do it, I don't really like doing it because, as far as being part of the project, not only that, but it creates a taxable event. So every time you sell coins, it's a taxable event. So on top of, maintaining your records for your profits, now this is another taxable event, especially if you're doing it often. Like I would not recommend doing it like every payout, anything like that, because you're just gonna double the amount of accounting. It's a pain in the ass doing your taxes if you're mining if you haven't done it yet. So you want to keep it simple. Like I try to keep it as simple as possible. It was the headache last year, but something to consider. Um, Another big thing is that you want to do your research because these things are expensive. Okay, they're anywhere from 4 to like 10K plus, right? Even right now with these bear market prices. So to some people that might not be anything, but as a home miner who's really a small time home miner, 4K is a lot to drop on something. Okay, so I definitely do my research. I'm looking at it, looking at worst case scenarios, because again, it's expensive. You want this thing to last. It's be horrible buying something for that amount of money and you get like 5 months use out of it and it's done. Okay, not something that I want to do. Something that can happen, especially all you gold shell miners. You're well aware of that, unfortunately. But again, you want to pick something that's long term. So like me specifically, looking only at bitmain. I'm not gonna be messing with these smaller manufacturers like gold shell, IB any of those. Only because bitmain, when they come out with a miner, you know it's pretty much going to be the most efficient and the best miner in class, which also in turn is going to make it most likely to remain profitable the longest, right? Especially right now, a good comparison is these Kadena miners. Bitmain came out with this KA3, the stats are blowing it out of the water. It's not just, double or anything like that. It's ridiculous how much more efficient it is. Okay, so definitely longevity wise, me personally going definitely 100% with bitmain. Not messing with that other stuff. So on top of it remaining profitable for a long period of time, you also want the miner to remain in operation for a long period of time. Okay, with Bitmain, part accessibility is a lot easier. It's a lot easier to get replacement parts, to get replacement control boards, and to get it serviced. So on top of just being directly from the manufacturer, there's a lot of places now who service them, which is a big, a big jump. It's a good thing to have, right? Because if it goes down, you have a hash board that goes out. If you send it back to the manufacturer, it can take months. So at that point, yes, they may cover it under warranty. You might only have to pay the $200 for shipping, whatever. But keep in mind the profitability you're gonna lose while this thing is out for 2 months. Instead of sending it out to like a service center, they might charge you a couple $100, or if you have one locally who might be able to look at it, it might only be a couple $100 or whatever, whatever. But it may end up being cheaper because of the fact that you're not down, not down a miner for an extended period of time. So you definitely need to consider that. And the biggest thing is that the bitmain miners, they're also the most efficient. You need them to be efficient, right? That's the big difference as far as why the profitability is so much better with bitmain than these gold shells. It's just so much more efficient. Okay. Because again, you need this miner to last, and you need it to last specifically at least a couple of years, or at least bare minimum till you break even, right? Then at that point, you're actually generating profit. Or even more so, right? We're at the point now where you want it to last going into this next bull market. Okay, as long as it remains profitable there, then we know these prices in the bull market, depending on the coin, can skyrocket. And even if it's not yielding as much because of the difficulty increases, it can still be worth a whole lot more then because of how much price appreciation may happen. And we know that these miners are directly correlated, or the cost of the hardware is directly correlated with the price of the coin or the token. Okay, so if the coin 10x's, then that miner is gonna go up significantly in value. So now on top of earning all these coins, all this yield, you now have a piece of hardware also that's gonna be worth a lot. Okay, so that gives you the option of now selling at that point, getting the newer, more efficient model, or doing whatever you're gonna be doing. So that's the big reason I'm sticking with Bitmain at this point. So now I'm going to talk about which ones I'm specifically looking at, and I'm looking at the new ones that have just came out. Reason being is that number one, they're destroying the competition. They're the most profitable right now. Specifically, going to look at the KA3 right now. Currently, daily profits looks like it's going to come in at $31.25. Need to throw this part out there too, because this is going to concern specifically the KA3 and the K7. Is that these values, they are correct now, but keep in mind when these come out, the hash rate, the difficulty is going to change drastically. So this yield that you're seeing now is with the current difficulty, the current hash rate. It is, depending on how many get shipped, it is going to double, triple, possibly quadruple. Okay? We don't know. We don't have a fixed number of how many are getting released or what the thought process is there. But just keep in mind that it's going to increase fairly dramatically. Okay? So even though, yes, it's yielding 48 Kadena right now, by the time this is well released and people have them, people are hashing on them, let's say sometime February, March, it can be producing half of that or even a quarter of that. Okay, so you have to factor that in when you're considering the profits. Okay, so even though it's producing 48 right now, and it may do that for the first, few months while there's not that many on the network, but as they come on the network, it's gonna drop pretty drastically. Okay, so I'm like factoring it in as if though it's gonna drop significantly. Okay, so let's look at the price of Kadena right now currently, which is currently tanking. It's down to 80 cents now. And it's going to continue to go down because of all this FTX stuff and this, this hacker right now. It's a whole nother subject, but it's at 80 cents. Previous all-time high was what, in the 20s, right? Yeah, almost 24 bucks, right? So not does not mean that it's going to hit all-time high again. This thing may never hit that. May hit only half of that. May only go to $5, right? Let's factor in, let's take into account, okay, let's say it goes up to $5 in the bull market. But the yield goes down to, let's say, a quarter of this. Instead of producing 48, by the time the bull market comes, we're only producing 12 KDA. But now the value of the coin is $5 a coin. it's still potential for 60 bucks a day. Okay. So this is kind of how you got to look at it. Realistically, we don't know what the yield is going to be in that amount of time. It's going to change. It couldn't be that much. It could go down to yielding 2 KDA. We don't know, right? That's the big gamble you're taking with this, and we'll see what happens with that. Okay, but I'm putting it as, okay, let's say it goes down to a quarter of this, it's only going to go down to 12 KDA. Even if the token value is only like $4, $5, that's still, if it's at $5, that's 60 bucks a day still. Okay? Even if it's half of that, 30 bucks a day by the time the bull market comes. And this is, you have to consider that this is if you're hodling, if you're not selling to pay your electricity, you're not doing any of that, which is what I'm doing. That's my form of DCA, is just paying the electricity out of pocket and keeping the yield. Okay? If we have little pumps here and there, I may sell a little bit or may, venture off into something else, but that's what I'm doing with it. But please keep that in mind, because again, especially after this thing comes out, we're going to see all these videos that, oh, I'm making, $300 a day, or it's going to make $300 a day in the bull market. Not very realistic, guys. Again, this is going to change drastically by the time that comes out. And this is specific to the K83 and the K7. So we'll look at the K7 here. So same thing, the revenue, it's going to make about almost 20 bucks in profit. We'll look at the chart, which has been pretty good. So all-time high, in April, 0.037. Okay. So it's going to be, give or take, like a 12 or 15x or something like that if it reaches all-time high. Okay. Again, we don't know if it will. We don't know if it'll exceed that. It's all in your faith in the coin that you're going to invest in. Okay. But keep in mind, same thing, the yield is going to change drastically. And I say specifically with the KA3 and the K7 because they're essentially getting a hash rate reset with bitmain because of how much more efficient these are. Essentially, everything that's currently on the network is going to pretty much be obsolete. It's not going to be profitable. Okay, so this is going to be pretty much a reset for them. So it's hard to tell because we don't know, again, how many are going to come on the network. That's going to be the biggest factor. If they come out with like 10,000 of these right off the bat, then this is going to change drastically. I highly doubt they're going to do that. We'll see, though. It's bitmain, and we'll see what they do. But just keep that in mind, is that these two, because they're not a very mature network, it's going to change drastically. But at the same time, keep in mind that these two coins, because they're smaller cap coins, they're also going to have the biggest potential for the upside. Okay? So again, I'm throwing out these worst case scenario numbers, but there's a possibility that it can reach all-time high and it can exceed all-time high, right? Especially in this next bull market. Okay, because a lot of these projects are now starting to come into fruition. Like the development is finally being usable, especially with CKB, with Nervos. They're finally getting to the point where it's fairly well developed, and I think by the next bull market, they're going to be there. Same with Kadena. I know a lot of people are getting pissed because there's not much traction. They're building right now, guys. They're not going to spend money on advertisement right now. Okay? But hopefully, in the next 2 years, they'll have a much better product. Especially right now with all this nonsense, with all this centralization, all this proof of stake. I think there's going to be a big jump with proof of work coins in the future for this next bull run. I think that's going to be a big one for this next bull run. All us miners, we're aware of what was going to happen with all this proof of stake and all this centralization with it. Okay, but now the rest of the crypto world is starting to realize that. Okay, so again, my opinion, not financial advice, just throwing that out there, something to consider. The other one is the L7. That's another one I'm considering. Again, just because this one remained fairly well profitable throughout this entire time since its release. Okay, it has dropped in price pretty significantly, right? In the bull market last November when they came out, they sold out instantly at they were selling for I think the MSRP was like 19,000, but they were selling for 25K, and they sold out like that. But it has remained profitable this entire time, right? A lot of people thought it was a joke with Doge and Litecoin, but it's been standing the test of time fairly well, especially right now with this Doge pump. But again, you got to look at what the potential price point's going to be, what you're looking at. So Litecoin currently at $60, all-time high was what, 377 in the peak of the bull market. So this is a potential for 6x. Now, a lot of people aren't too bullish on Litecoin, but it is one of those things with, digital currency group, and they have a big investment in them. And that's the rumor of why they pump so much. Same with like ETC and stuff because of their holdings with them. So Litecoin's gonna be around. It's been around, and it's gonna continue to be around. Doge is gonna continue to pump, I believe, also because of all this Elon stuff, especially all this Twitter integration. Especially if that goes in, I'm sure that'll go up significantly. This is the meme coin of choice. I think it's gonna be around. Whether or not it goes back to all-time high is a different story. But again, right now, even at these crazy low prices, it's still fairly profitable. Okay, so that's definitely a good sign. Because right now, it's $14 a day, and this one also merge mine, so you are getting Litecoin and Doge, so that's pretty cool. So keep that in mind. Um, the biggest drawback with the L7 though is the fact that it's been out over a year now. Okay, so there's more than likely going to be a refresh sometime, maybe not soon, maybe not within the 6 months, but probably by the end of 23, right? I would definitely expect some kind of refresh. Depending on how much more efficient the newer model is, it's going to determine how profitable this is. Again, that's a big part of the reason I'm more bullish on the KA3 and the K7, only because those are the newest models. Hopefully, we get a good 2 years out of them before there's a significant refresh. There may be a refresh next year, but typically it's like more of a 2-3 year cycle where there's a new model. At least as far as history goes with like the S19s, etc. So the fourth one I would consider, it's not really on my list, but just depends on how much more the prices go down, is the S19 XP. And not super profitable right now, right? But this is also the safest. Okay, the reason I say it's the safest is because Bitcoin will be here the next bull market, right? Technically, we don't know what can happen with Kadena. Something can happen with Kadena because it's so early on. Same thing with Nervos. They have an issue with like a bridge hack or something, and they pretty much become obsolete. Um, to me, Bitcoin is the safest play. It's the play that's there, but it's gonna have the least upside. Okay, when the bull market comes, we're at like 15K right now, 16K. Let's say it goes to previous all-time high. That's a 4x from where it's now. And so you'll make a decent amount. The hardware price will grow up, or will go up, I should say. So you'll get your price appreciation there, but it's also just the least likely to go up because of the biggest factor being all the competition. Okay, you have a Bitcoin miner, you're competing with all these Bitcoin mining farms, which are super aggressive. Um, so that's your competition when you're looking at that. Okay, so again, it still is on my consideration list, just depending on the price, especially if we have a steep discount, which is possible because there's going to be a lot of selling in the next few months with these farms. Okay, a lot of these farms aren't going to make it. A lot of them were already having issues a few months ago when the prices were at 19. Okay, we're at 16 now, potentially going lower, potentially for an extended period of time. Okay, even the ones that are doing well right now, let's see if they can hold up another year. It's a possibility that we're in this price range or lower for a whole nother year. Okay, it's not looking until like 2024 when the halving actually happens, and it's not like when the halving happens, there's price appreciation. It's not how it works either. Typically, the halving happens, and then it's a slow process from there. Um, but I am looking at them, right? Again, it just depends on how low the prices go. Okay, so again, these are all things you want to keep into consideration if you're looking at jumping into an ASIC. Don't just take my word for it. Research, guys. Again, these things are crazy expensive. You want them to last. You want your investment to be worthwhile. So do your own research, not just from one resource. Go on the different forums, see what people are actually yielding. Make sure you're looking into that project. Is it going to last? Do you think it's going to last? Okay. The main reason I'm looking at the K3, the K7, the L7, and the S19 XP, is because I feel confident that they will be here in the next bull market, and they're all solid projects. They're all projects that I was already DCAing into. Okay, they just so happen to have a nice miner come out, so definitely that picked up for me. So I pre-ordered both a K7 and a K83, and I'll be looking at the S19XP and others, especially right now with this week. The reason I wanted to put this video out is because I'm sure there will be deals coming this week. Okay, this is for in the US at least. Black Friday, a lot of vendors will be putting stuff on sale for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And not only that, but I can not guarantee, but I'm sure there will be restocks. I'm sure we'll see more allocation for KA3s, these K7s. So keep that in mind. So if you're looking right now, this might be a good time to look into purchasing, right? Or at least look at what the prices go down to. Okay? So it's a lot of stuff to keep in mind. Again, if you're thinking about jumping to ASICs, do a ton of research. Okay? If you're like in my shoes, dropping 4 or 5K on a miner is a big deal. It's something that it's a lot of hesitation, but GPU mining was good for me. And what I learned from that is that if it's something you're into, something you believe in, jump into it. Okay? Again, not financial advice, not telling you to jump in, freaking sell your house and jump all the way in. Not saying that either, guys. Okay? Be realistic, but keep in mind of all these things, right? This might be one of the better times to buy. But who knows? I'm saying this now, and then 3 months later, we're down to like a $5,000 Bitcoin, and these prices are now half of what they are. And that's the risk you have to be willing to take. Okay? So it's very risky, but the potential upside is pretty good if things work out in the way you plan. Okay? So make a plan, do your research, look at different point of views, look at how reliable machines are. I know I'm specifically topping with bitmain only because that's what I'm going with. But if you're looking at other miners, other manufacturers, look at what the prices are, how reliable that manufacturer is, how warranty processes are. These are all things you want to keep in mind because, again, with ASICs, you need these things to last. You need to break even. You need to make money off of it. Okay? So please, guys, keep all that in mind. So, guys, hopefully you learned something from this video. You got something from it. Please comment. Please like. Please subscribe. But for real, guys, like I've mentioned in the past, comment. If you're thinking about buying any miners, throw it out there. What are you thinking of buying? Why are you thinking of buying them? Who are you buying them from? Right? Throw those vendors out there. If you have positive reviews of people, throw them out there. Let people know. All right, guys. Well, again, hopefully you got some value and you enjoyed watching. Thank you for watching, guys, and I'm out.